And then...
Wait a minute. It says, okay, just press on live transcript. It says, allow participants to request live transcript. Assign someone to type. Use a third-party CC service. I will type. So if I put your name in here... Let's see. Technology.
Request?
Local request that live transcription be enabled for the meeting.
I think I'm local. That's me.
Enable. It has been enabled. And oh, it's not very good, is it? Be happy to send you a link. I should warn you, I hear a storm coming in.
Really?
We're in monsoon season here in Arizona, and it's been very thunderstormy every afternoon, so hopefully it won't take off the power. That means we could get started, right?
Yeah, okay, we'll try it this way and then see if it works. So I just got like, let's see, if you could just at the very beginning just state your name, your profession, and where you live.
Okay. My name is Benita Rose. I'm a concert pianist. I am a professor of piano at Yavapai College. I'm a church organist. I'm a composer. I have my own home studio, Rose International Piano Conservatory. I'm a wife. I'm a mother. And I live in Prescott, Arizona. I've lived here for 4 years. I spent most of my life in Connecticut.
Very good. I'm actually in Ireland, so quite far away.
Yes, I would say so.
And it's really dark. Like I'm in the building and there's no one else here. It's quite creepy. Okay, so the first question was, can you talk briefly about your job role, you kind of and your interests?
Well, that pretty much takes up all my time, and there's nothing I love more than performing and teaching. I used to find time to write poetry. I love word games.
Nice. That's only a wee starter question anyway, so don't worry. What kind of poetry did you write?
It was just kind of personal poetry.
Oh, I do that too. Nobody reads it though. Like it's just like private.
But,
yeah.
Things published, and I won a new talent contest, but I didn't really pursue it. I just kind of went on a rampage for a while, and then I stopped.
You're very talented though, like just in general.
And I've also had a passion for languages, and that was my second love besides music.
Okay. Okay, so can you describe selective mutism in your own words? And then I've done like a few wee props, like what does it feel like whenever it starts to kick in? Like what kind of sensations do you like feel? And then just maybe start with that one.
Okay. I would say social mutism, selective.
We can start again. I can edit everything out, don't worry.
Social,
Yeah, true.
So it is extreme social anxiety, and it prevents you from speaking. Your heart starts pounding really fast, and it's almost like your thoughts and your mouth can't coordinate. Other times it's kind of like a deer in headlights. You kind of feel like if somebody asked you your name, you would be like, I forgot, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, that would have happened to me too. Whenever like mine would kick in, I'd be like, I can't remember anything. And how did it make you feel afterwards? Like whenever you were in your safe space afterwards? Like, do you know when you were a child and then all the things kicked in, and then afterwards you'd be like, you'd go and start thinking about it, like what happened?
I would just feel frustrated. I would just feel frustrated that I hadn't expressed myself, and that I had something to say when I didn't say it. Or even like when a teacher asked a question in class, I couldn't raise my hand. And then after somebody else would answer it, I'd be like, I knew that answer, but I didn't say it. So yeah, it's kind of frustrating.
Yeah, that's true. Um, could you talk a little bit about your background with it, like historically? And the wee props like what here were like, did you receive a diagnosis? And then if not, when
I'll
did
just
you
take one
realize
at a
you
time. I'll just take one at a time.
I've had too much coffee. I'm so sorry.
We're getting really nervous.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
What I remember is when I was 4 years old, I was a very confident child. And I had older brothers, and I learned to do whatever they did. They learned to read and do math. I was doing their reading and their math. I was going to play with their friends. I was tall, and I felt like I fit in. And then one day, one of my brother's friend's mothers told my mother, I don't want Benita coming to play. She can get hurt playing with the big boys. And that was, kind of like, the beginning of things, like kind of not feeling accepted. And then my mother wanted to get me into, first she was trying to get me into kindergarten early because I could do all the things my brothers could do. Um, I eventually skipped a grade, but when I actually went to kindergarten, I went to kindergarten for like, actually, I just skipped something. I wanted to say that when I was 4, one day I walked to the school playground, which was actually pretty far, but in those days people did things like that. And I always look forward to walking with my mom to the playground to pick up my brothers from school and all walk home together. And one day she said she wasn't going. So I don't know if she wasn't feeling well, or I remember she was watching TV. I don't know if she was watching something that was just too interesting for her to part from. But I said, I've been looking forward to this all day and I'm going. So I took my little wagon. I had one of those little wagons that comes with the colorful blocks. And I brought it to the school playground. I got on the swings and I was swinging, and my brother came to the door and he said, come in the classroom. And he said to his class, he said, this is my little sister. She's 4 years old and she can read my books. And so the teacher called me in. She asked me to read, and like it was all happy and great. And then when my mother started pushing for this, we've got to skip a grade thing, when I started kindergarten, I would go like for an hour to the kindergarten, and then I would go like for an hour to the first grade reading class, and then I would come back. And I think that was a really bad thing because I couldn't really connect with the new friends. Actually, I think I thought I could. And then one day I saw, a group of shall we say, popular girls sitting together, and I went to sit with them. And I had seen one of the girls at the school the day before when I was riding my bicycle. And she all of a sudden goes, I saw Benita yesterday riding her squeaky old bicycle. And that just like cut through the core of me. I was like devastated. It was like what Dr. Phil would call one of those life-defining moments. I just like froze up. I turned purple, and I was mortified. And I feel like that kind of started the beginning of just totally losing myself and losing my voice. When I look at my life, I feel like my voice in speaking and my voice and as myself are very related. So even though I was physically losing my voices and my throat going up in knots and everything, at the same time I was also kind of losing myself. And one of the things that I have found is that I think if like I found the piano, and I think if people can find something that defines them, it will help them. And one of the things that I also did in one of my walks of life was I had a fantastic opportunity to be a church music director. Now, here's somebody with selective mutism who now has to like sing for the choir. Are you kidding? Are you kidding? And so I took voice lessons from a pretty famous voice teacher, and it really helped free up this whole mechanism. And I think that was very helpful. And also, my husband and my daughter were into singing. And one of the things that they taught me about, this is going to sound ridiculous, but it works. They taught me about like singing operas, like, and it's funny, like they said, see, like, when you sing, it's like horsing around. And, when you horse around, then you're more relaxed. And it just really helped me a lot. So when I worked with children, I would tell them that they can't come into our little choir room. They can come in, but they cannot speak. If they have something to say, they have to say it in singing. So people would come in and they go, "Hello, Ms. Rose," and stuff like that. It really developed their voices. And I found that like as I was doing that with them, I was freeing myself up, and I could actually feel my speaking voice becoming more resonant, less stressed, and all sorts of cool things came of it.
Very good.
So kind of a tangent there, but
Well, it's a very interesting one though. I think you like preempted one of the further ahead questions. Yeah, so did you receive a diagnosis at any point?
I did not, but like a couple years ago, I just heard thunder, so that's why I'm like, 2 years ago, I was at a church staff meeting here in Arizona, and it's a very large staff, so probably like, I don't know, about 20 people or so. And there were all these things that they were talking about, and I felt like I had a lot of input, but I just couldn't get anything out. And when I came home, I just started to cry. And I was like saying to my husband, I had all these things that I wanted to tell them. And I just like couldn't speak up, like, what is wrong with me? And so, I went to bed and I went on the internet and I just typed in, why can't I speak up? And selective mutism came up. I had never, ever heard of it. And I started reading all this stuff. And all of a sudden, like, my life made sense. I was like, oh my goodness, this is me. And it was both surprising, in some ways, a relief, in some ways, I don't want to say a shame, but kind of, just kind of like, there's something wrong with me, sort of thing.
No, there's nothing wrong with you, don't worry. No, I know it can feel like that whenever you read up about it, but yeah, and it is just a natural response to have. But there's nothing wrong with you. I'm not meant to be talking, but yeah. So how did the revelation make you feel? You answered that. How did parents, peers, and teachers respond to your change of behavior? Like, so whenever you'd go really quiet, like how would your teachers and friends react to it? And then how did that make you feel?
I this is going to sound totally crazy, and I can't even believe it. And I try not to think about it because it makes me very sad. But really, I did not speak to people in school. Like I spoke to people at home. I was very vibrant with, the family. I was um, very chatty with the neighborhood kids, but not on the school bus. Just, after school, if we were playing, ball games on the road or, something like that. Um, I went through school really not speaking to anybody. Um, when I came home, I was perfectly fine. So I don't think that my family really knew. And I do remember in second grade, my mother coming home from a parent teacher conference. And, she always wanted to be the proud mom, and she always wanted to have a perfect conference. And she came home and she said, Miss Keeble said that you are not playing with people at recess time. You're off by yourself. You're not talking to people. And you need to go join in their games. So, me being like the obedient child, right? Like, okay. And so that's what I did. So she didn't get another bad conference. But I wasn't really socializing with anybody. Um, I was there, but I was being alone. And the funny thing is that decades later, I ran into people that I went to school with. I didn't even realize like how silent I was being, because it's more mortified when somebody spoke to me, because then I'd have to answer. Um, and I would say like, "Oh, hello, how are you? What are you doing these days?" And they would go, "You speak." And it just kind of, made me reflect and revisit those days and realize just like I was not speaking to anybody. I was like just kind of going about, like a church mouse, doing my stuff. And even like my piano teacher came to one of my concerts like decades later, and he was like, "She speaks." The first thing out of their mouth, So it's kind of funny.
Oh, yeah, it can be confusing for people, but it's
And
also really confusing for the individual.
yes, and I was very afraid of my own voice. I was afraid of what other people thought. I was just like afraid of everything. I think I couldn't even really pinpoint what I was afraid of, and I wasn't even so in touch with it. I wasn't talking that much, or at all, I should say. Um, in college, I had a very demanding music theory professor, and music theory, especially in the advanced form, is very challenging for most music students. And especially, I spent most of my time in the practice room, partially practicing to practice, but also kind of, it's my like little safe space. Like I'm practicing, don't bother me. And so, one day it was getting like close to the end of the semester, and I thought I was going to fail theory, and I was shaking in my boots. I was like, I've got to do something, and I've got to ask him. Like, I have to. So I walked up to him after class, and before I could even say one word, he just started screaming at me, "Where have you been? I was wondering when you're going to come and ask for help." And it was just so scary that I don't even remember what transpired afterwards. I don't remember if he helped me, if I learned something. I'm sure I didn't actually. And I feel like this has helped me in my own professoring, where I kind of try to reach out to my students. And in fact, we had we had a big social just yesterday, and it was for students and professors to meet each other and have cake and fruit together and stuff. And I noticed a student that I had noticed um, in the hallway sometime, and the student came to the party, and um, and she was just kind of sitting in a corner by herself and kind of shaking. And I've never seen this student speak with anybody. And I had been with a group of people, and I was having a good time talking to them. And this student was clearly like an awkward, kind of not accepted by other students. We're a community college, and we have all sorts of people. And so I said to the student, I said, Daniela, why don't you come over here and join us? And she took her chair, and she pulled her chair about halfway to where we were. And I said, no, not there. Come over here. I would like to learn more about you. Come tell us about yourself. And, she started to tell us, tell me all these things. And this is kind of strange. As I was speaking to this person who was clearly not accepted by the peer group, I was like getting a vibe, like, where are you talking to that person? Like, and I thought to myself, this is exactly why I'm talking to that person. And I spent a lot of time with that person. I must have spent a good 20 minutes, half an hour, just chatting and helping this person feel accepted. And the coolest thing happened. I just can't even believe it, because I've never really observed this before. Maybe I'm just not observant, but I started getting really hungry. So I finally said, excuse me, I must fix myself a plate. And I got up and I left. And, when I went over there and other people started talking to me, I looked over and I saw that now the other students had invited Daniela to join their little group. And I just felt like, don't ask me how this happened, but right now I'm kind of like the cool professor at my college. And I felt it was because I was there accepting her. They decided it was cool to accept this person. And it just made me think about how if one person reaches out to that person that's being excluded, what a difference it can make. And, that may have been this person's happiest social experience, So I feel like I've learned to be extra sensitive to other people and what may be going on with them, and we have no idea what it is or what it isn't. I've also learned to anticipate things that people could be nervous about, like, being a piano teacher, recitals, competitions. I've learned how to prepare them and talk to them about what thoughts might be in their mind, help them envision the environment that they'll be playing in and anticipate any problems they may have. I've been able to help them understand what it means to really be prepared. And in fact, I got an interesting communication after I did the first conference. Somebody contacted me on Facebook, and they told me they had seen the conference or had been there. And they said their daughter, who was about 7 or so, wanted to be in a beauty pageant, and she has selective mutism. And the mother was freaking out because she was saying that there's going to be an interview, and she's sure that the little girl was going to just freeze up, and she was going to have to dance. You know how they do, the little pageant dances and singing numbers and all that stuff. And I said to her, well, the fact that she wants to do it is very good. But then I said, is she practicing? And she said, no. And I said, you must get her to practice so that when that anxiety kicks in, she's just got it down, everything that she wants to do and say. And I said, I cannot emphasize that strongly enough. She needs to be extra prepared. Um, and so they did that. And I got a text from the mom saying that she had done really, really well, and she was so proud, and they had practiced and, taken my advice on the super preparation. Um, so, yeah, it's been neat being able to perhaps help other people.
Very good. When did you first feel like you were gaining more control over your selective mutism, and what is it that helped?
I've never felt like, oh, I'm getting control over this. To me, it has been a state of being, and it's been a process. It's been kind of a natural progression. So, nothing was progressing for about 20 years. No, but that's not totally true because, when I got to college, I really had to fend for myself, and it was a very, very tough time. But I think that's when I wouldn't say I got a hold of it, but I was, taking baby steps and getting better. I do believe that performing the music has been very, very helpful because, when I was a child, my mother wanted me to perform all the time. She was just, like I said, very proud mom. And of course, I was scared out of my mind. I was totally scared out of my mind. And I had to do it though, because she was not taking no for an answer. And I learned how to fight the anxiety. It's survival. It was survival at college. It was survival of those performances. I learned that if I really, really focus on what I'm doing, when I feel the anxiety kicking in, when I feel those, shall we say, questioning voices in your head that are telling you you can't do it or you're going to fail, I just learned to just say, no, we're not going there. We're not going there. And I feel like it eventually translated to speaking and everything else in my life. Um,
Yeah, you said something really interesting in one of the interviews that you sent me about when you're performing, you're terrified, but you get not an adrenaline rush, but like a thrill out of it because it's kind of like skydiving. You're terrified,
right,
but
right,
yeah,
right, right. And now I'm a very comfortable performer, but before I worked through all the anxiety, I would think, okay, I I'm just not going to do this anymore. Like, why do I do this? I just feel so nervous. It's not comfortable. But then I would just feel so um, bored, So I needed that stimulation. So I took a few notes, and I just want to see if.
yeah. No, have we look at them because if you take a week break or anything or a space, I can just edit it out. So don't feel under pressure to
Okay.
talk super fast.
Sometimes when I get nervous, I just can't even think. So
Oh, no, I'm like that too. Don't worry. Take your time. It's not a big intensive thing.
so yeah, and I think the music for me was a confidence builder, and it was something that I had. So if I had um, a bad day at school, I could always just feel like I had the piano. And my mother always had a very, very intense belief in me. And I'm realizing now how much that really helped me, um, because it didn't matter if anybody else believed in me or not, because she did. And we were right. So,
Oh, so sweet. Um, yeah, so was there much awareness of selective mutism in your hometown? And do you think there's enough awareness in general at the minute?
um, of course, there wasn't, when I was growing up, I never heard of it. Still, never heard of it until like 2 years ago. So, it's hard for me to say how my life would have been different if there had been the awareness, if there had been a diagnosis. I still don't really know like what would have been done. Would it have helped me? Um, those are questions that I won't know the answers to, but I try to look at the bright side and say, I learned to work by myself. I learned to express myself through my art. I learned to be extra sensitive to others. And um, I always came into my own when I had the opportunity to advocate for others. And this is really interesting now that I think about it. That same Miss Kibos that told my mother I wasn't speaking to anybody. When I was in second grade, we had our first immigrant from Puerto Rico in our class. And there was this cute little boy named Francisco. And she asked me if I would help him learn English and if I would help him um, do his work. And I just remember just being absolutely delighted. And ever since that day, I feel like I've always been excited about advocating for people in teaching. Um, and had that experience again when I was in college, my second year, we got a very famous piano teacher I was really excited about studying with. And I had not really spoken to my other piano teacher. But when I heard he was coming, I was like, okay, I need to ask him questions because this could be my last chance, my only chance to get answers to these questions. So I did start to speak at least a little bit, um, in that environment. And actually, speaking of speaking, you were asking me about like my husband and all that dating and work. And,
Yeah.
you know, the thing with selective mutism is that it's not something that presents itself all the time. So, in environments that I could choose, as in boyfriends, jobs, whatever, it's not really been a pronounced problem. Like I said, it's always there. I can always feel the anxiety. Um, every once in a while, I will start stuttering or pronouncing words weirdly or something, something like that. But like not, it just has not been debilitating in scenarios that I can choose. I think it's most debilitating for me when I'm in a peer group and I'm just like an equal partner. I end up being an unequal partner. If I have to do a presentation where I'm speaking, I can do very well.
That's really interesting. Because
And
normally it's like the expectation just like kind of causes the fear.
I don't know. It's like, like I said, when I'm like at my church meeting, um, I don't know what they're going to talk about, and something will come up, and then, my brain will start coming up with the things I want to say, and then my heart will start going, and I'll get very excited, and I'll like try to get it out, and I usually can't get it out until they've gone on to a few more topics, and then And this thing will still be on my mind, like this is an important thing, an important contribution I had. So sometimes I'll just like go up to whoever was running the meeting and say, "Oh, I just had this idea," or whatever. So,
Um, oh, I think you kind of preempted this one. This one was, what would you say you were drawn to music as a means of expressing yourself beyond selective mutism? Kind of
kind
touched
of,
on
yes, yes and no. I think the arts in general. Um, um, it was my mother's idea that I should play the piano, and I picked it up instantly. I never had to learn how to read music or anything. It just all made sense to me. I went to my first lesson, and the teacher was teaching me to read notes, and my mother said, "I'm not going to spend money on you learning to read notes. I can teach you that." And then from the second lesson on, I could read anything, I could play anything. I understood what a composer wanted. Um, and at the same time as I'm saying she picked that, I sometimes question, like I was talking about the voice and your personal voice. My mother often just kind of took it upon herself to speak for me as well. And she would make decisions for me that I think I should have made. I think that if I had, I can't know, but like perhaps if I had made some of those decisions myself, it would have helped me keep my voice. If you know what I mean. Like I remember her, and I'm not blaming her. I know that this would have been happening, you know, no matter what, from that situation in the school with the girls at snack time and stuff. But um, I remember playing with my dolls in my room, and my mother walked in and she said, like, "Do you want to go to Latvian Sunday school?" And before I could even say, "Yes, I want to," because she was on the phone with some lady running the Latvian Sunday school, I really wanted to go. And she said, "No, we're not going to go to that." And so a lot of times when, before I could even say that I wanted to do something, it was just kind of mixed. Um, but, all's well that ends well.
Um, how much has music helped you to overcome selective mutism? You touched on that a wee bit. You can elaborate if you want, but if you don't want to, don't worry.
Yeah, I think absolutely, because it was something that I'm very good at, and really built my confidence. And that same teacher that I decided I needed to ask him the questions, um, he was kind of sneaky. He ended up getting fired from the school, but he was going on a tour, and I guess he really wasn't supposed to. And he told me that when he's on tour, he wants me to teach for him. And if the office calls, I should just answer the phone and say he's in the bathroom right now. And when I did that, I really discovered that I loved teaching, and I could really feel that connection, with the students who at that time were actually my peers. So um, that was the beginning of something. I think, when I began teaching out of my home, then those piano families became my friends, and they would have me over for dinner and stuff like that.
Um, you answered that one. So, um, oh yeah, this one. How do you feel at the moment? Like regarding selective mutism, and like, does it ever filter back in sometimes? And then if it does, how do you kind of try to counteract it?
I
How would
feel
you break it down a
fine
bit?
right now, and like I said, it it's a challenge. It sometimes happens when I'm at those staff meetings. Um, not really seriously, um, and like I said, I'm able to just go up to the people that introduce the topic at the meeting and say, oh, I just had an idea, and, tell them that. So.
Yeah, so it's kind of just like working at your own pace and not putting too much pressure on yourself.
I don't really know what it is. Right.
What could others have done differently to make you feel more at ease and accepted?
I think all those things I've been talking about, being, encouraging. I also feel like because I was not a charismatic speaker, that I do feel it has affected my career. I felt like I felt like a lot of my professors, especially now that I'm on Facebook and everything, I can see that it's reminding me that I didn't really have people in my court that should have been there. So it's kind of interesting because when I came out to Arizona after spending my whole life in Connecticut, all of a sudden I'm like getting more performances. I performed 5 concertos in 4 years, besides a million other concerts. I'm a professor. I'm extremely respected and looked up to because they didn't know me in my other life. So they can see where I am. They can see where my talent is. And I feel like I'm 20 years behind because a lot of people my age are retiring, and I feel like I'm still just starting. But I wasn't a slow starter in my music, but because of the selective mutism, like I said, I wasn't being gregarious. I wasn't out there being witty and charming and stuff. I think that it was a hindrance because everything is a business, and connecting with people it's a very important part of life.
Yeah, the whole networking and communicating can help you kind of advance in careers, and then
Right.
Yeah, if you have difficulty, it can hold you back a wee bit. But it's good that you're still like starting and you're still going. That's good.
Yeah.
Well
I'm
done.
happy about that. I'm very happy about that. And now that I realize selective mutism is actually a thing, now, like, I used to always feel like, why have I not accomplished more? Why? And now it's like, okay, well, it's because I had selective mutism, and I've done very well. So,
Yeah.
A good ending.
It is. It's not over yet, though.
Right.
We're only getting started. What were the main challenges of having selective mutism from your perspective? And like, what did you learn from it? You kind of touched on that.
Yes.
So you don't have to answer that one again if you don't want to. You're just far ahead of all my questions.
We're all kind of related,
Yeah, true.
I know you were wondering why I did that original conference, and I think I did it partially as self-acceptance, and then besides that, I think people need to know that selective mutism, it's not, everybody's different, so I may have selective mutism, but I'm not the same as somebody else who has it. You should get to know these people and find out what gifts they bring, and we all have gifts, and we just need to discover what they are. And um, and I think people should know that if somebody's not speaking up, it doesn't mean they don't have great ideas. I used to always feel very defeated and feel like, well, people that speak the loudest are the ones that, get their way. And um, it was very frustrating. But now that I can recognize that, I can, um, put I can put myself in the running. And yeah, and like I mentioned, that one mom contacted me. A couple of people wrote to me after the conference and said that they really enjoyed my offering, and that it helped them a lot. So
And why do you think that awareness is so important? It seems like a rather simplistic question, but
well, I
just
think it's actually a good question. Is it important, or is it not? I think right now the world is in a place of accepting diversity and understanding that if you're not one of the popular ones in the in group, it doesn't mean that you don't have something great to offer. And the world is, like the Bible says, many members, one body, and we all have something. And everybody needs to be given a chance, and a chance to participate. And every person is a gift, and we should unwrap that present and see. And even the person at the social yesterday at the school turned out to be a pretty interesting person. And had I not invited that person to share with us, then we wouldn't have that gift.
so sweet. Back to these ones. Okay. What would you like others to know about selective mutism, especially in Ireland? There's not an awful lot of awareness in Ireland.
Oh, okay, because I didn't know what that meant when I saw that question.
Oh, really?
Ireland.
Sorry.
I've never been there. So I think pretty much everything I had to say today. That we may be quiet sometimes, but we still have thoughts and feelings, and we're still valuable members of society. And I think once we can realize that we have something valuable to say, that is helpful. And like I was also saying about having your voice can help you have your voice. And all kind of, so many seemingly unrelated things go together, So.
Could you compare your selective mutism experience as a child to how it felt moving into adulthood? Like, are there any notable differences?
I will tell you that I have always thought of adults as being children in old bodies. So I think it's really, very similar. I'm a lot more self-aware than I was. Like I said, I kind of went about my business not even really realizing how silent I was being. Just kind of glad, not to have to answer.
Did you notice like people like calling you quiet and things?
No.
No,
No.
because when I was younger, I used to people would be like, "You're really, really quiet," so I would notice it a lot. But
They just,
uh,
I was very blessed because I don't like to say bad kids because I believe there's good in everybody, but the kids that were not behaving or were bullying would mostly say, she is very nice. We must be nice to her. So except for that girl in the kindergarten. So I was very, very lucky that way.
oh, that's good. Good. Um, did it impact friendships, relationships, including your relationship with yourself?
Um,
Touched on that.
Friendships have been, very difficult, in my life because, yeah, it's kind of hard to make friends. Like, where do you find friends? You find friends at school, right? You find friends on the bus. You find friends in that group setting. Um, so, yeah, it's been a challenge.
What about like work colleagues as you got older? Did it get any easier or still the same kind of thing?
I, you know, I worked teaching out of my own studio for um, ever since I was 18, and I've been a solo performer. Um, so I started doing church work, started being an organist about 20 years ago, and that's been very nice because churches are very welcoming places. So
Seemed like great. Yeah, it does. Also the positive aspect of it you mentioned, it was like you learn to be really independent and like happy in your own company, which is a thing that a lot of people don't have.
right.
It's really good. Yeah.
So,
I'm sorry. I'll stop ranting. Um, oh yeah, I did ask the question about it affecting like about your husband, but you mentioned that earlier. So how would you describe selective mutism to younger children to try and explain it to them?
um, gee, I don't know if I would try to explain it to them.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. I was wondering that. I was talking to like a speech therapist and she has a child with selective mutism, so she made like a wee leaflet with cartoons on it and things and like really broke it down. So that was quite good. But I was just wondering like um how different do you think your life would be? You've answered that one. You're really good. What advice would you give to adults who are still struggling with selective mutism? So like someone who maybe wasn't diagnosed and they still have like and take your time to think about it. There's no hurry.
um, I had I thought about that, and
Take your time, don't worry.
um,
Or do you know, if it's escaping you at the minute, we can go back to it, it doesn't matter. But yeah, so the main character in the documentary so far is a man from Ireland and he wrote a book about it, but he's like 45 and he only found out about it in his 30s. So that's why I was asking that question because I was just wondering what other people would think about it. But it's a hard one to answer though, like
I hadn't thought about it, and I didn't write it down.
oh yeah, I hate that.
What it was, and the reason I didn't write it down is when I looked back at the questions, I couldn't spot the question anymore. So
I wonder. I don't know how to try and help. What advice you would give?
if I remember, I'll send you a text.
Okay.
I'm gonna get some advice. And it was good advice. I just like now that I'm
Really?
trying to force myself to remember, of course, I can't remember.
It's probably when you were writing it down, you were thinking about your own experience of it. Yeah, no, it was... Okay, we'll go back to that one. Um, do you have anything that you'd like to add, like any advice you'd like to give, or just anything I might have left out that you think would be relevant?
I just wanted to share that I had recently started writing my autobiography, and it was after I found the selective mutism definition, and so all these memories kind of started surfacing, that I was writing down that, kind of made sense. And I don't know if I'll ever have time to finish it, but
Please do.
um,
Please do.
um, and um, I have felt invisible like most of my life, so it's almost because I wasn't speaking, I almost feel like I want to speak more now, because I have to get my share of speaking. Um, and, I felt like my ability was overlooked in many instances for my disability. And now, it's my hope to just teach and advocate for others. Um, I'm still thinking about that. I had some very good advice, and I can't think of it for the life of me right now.
No, honestly, don't worry about it. See if you remember it. You could just record it yourself and then send it to me. So don't
Okay.
worry. There's no pressure. Don't worry. Do you know what? You'll probably hang up and then it'll pop into your head.
Of
That
course.
always happens.
But,
Oh,
um,
that was like you answered all the questions really well, and there were a lot of questions, so thank you.
oh, you're welcome. That sounds good. I hope it helps your project.
No, you definitely did. Thank you. What was the other thing? Yeah, do you feel like performing anything on the piano or anything?
I can if you like.
Yeah. Um, is it possible to like push the camera further away to get a better view of you?
Let's see. That good?
Mm.
Is that good?
Would you be able to like tilt it like slightly
Like that?
so I can see the top of your head, which sounds really weird, but
Okay.
yeah, perfect.
I think you can see the piano.
Mm, oh yeah, I don't want your head to be cut off. Okay, if you that could work. Okay, it is a nice piano.
I hope you can hear any of that.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
That was lovely.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Can I get a copy of this thing? Oh, I have it. What am I
You
saying?
have it, yeah. The problem might be trying to transfer the recording to me. So what have you ever
Let's figure it out.
so normally whenever I leave the Zoom meeting, like a box pops up and it starts to convert the video.
Mhm.
So as soon as you leave this conversation, it should pop up and then it asks you it gives you like a little option. So if you save it into your documents, I don't know then how you're gonna send it to me.
Can I try your email? I don't understand why the email thing was not working.
Yeah, it's weird. It's just like I got like a delivery failure message. But yeah, my email, I can try and write it to you in the little chat box. Maybe
After all this, it would be terrible if you couldn't even get it.
yeah.
Except for one thing, my hair looks terrible.
No, your hair looks lovely. Your hair looks lovely. Sorry.
It's the comment after I tried.
I sent my email to you. I don't know. Sometimes the file can be really big by email, so it might not send. But
I know what I can do. I wonder, can I put it on an unlisted YouTube video? That's what I often do when I'm sending a big piano file.
Oh. Oh yeah, so if you put it on that, then I don't really use YouTube. So then I just gain access to YouTube somehow, and then like would it be like if it's unlisted, is it public?
It means if it's unlisted, it means that only people that you send it to can see it.
Oh, good. Okay.
So I can send it to you and you can see it.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. If that works, no problem.
Boy, there's always something more to learn in technology, isn't there?
Yeah, always.
So it didn't turn off. The Zoom didn't turn off.
No, surprisingly, because I was on like a Zoom call before this and it like cut off after just like a couple of like 30 minutes or something. So I was expecting this one to cut off, but it didn't. Thank goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're lucky. We're very lucky tonight. So far, so good.
You must be tired.
I am, but it's definitely worth it. I've drank a lot of coffee. That's why I was asking you like 5 questions at a time instead of one. Sorry. Yeah. It'll definitely be worth it though.
So, okay, so how to proceed now?
Yeah, so whenever you leave the call, it'll convert into your documents and you'll see it converting, so everything should be okay. And then you can just put it on an unlisted YouTube video and then grant me access and we'll see if that works.
Right. I'm just okay, because I had never recorded. Is it recording right now?
Yes, there you should be able to see like on the left hand side.
Oh yes,
a little red.
That was a close one. That was a close one.
Very tiny though, in fairness, it is quite. Yeah. So if you have any trouble with it, I'll be on the other end of Facebook.
Okay, so you'll be on the Facebook chat.
Yeah. But it should start to convert as soon as you leave the meeting. It'll just like a rectangle box will pop up and it will start loading. So just don't touch it until it loads. And then it'll ask you like
Does it take long?
No, it shouldn't take too long. It should only take like a couple of minutes unless there's some kind of problem with it, but it shouldn't take too long.
Okay. I'm afraid to press. I'm afraid because you know how like I can't stand it. Like, you know, when I do the canvas, I put the grades in, I press submit, and they all disappear.
Really? Oh.
And you press submit, and then they disappear. And you say, "Well, I'll try it one more time," and they disappear. Oh. Then you contact the office, and then they say you have to contact tech support, and then you call tech support, and they're not there. And the thing that should take 5 minutes ends up taking 8 hours.
Oh, no, technology can be really irritating.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's cool that we're able to talk with you in Ireland and me in Arizona.
Yeah.
How cool
Thank
is
you for
that?
talking to me all the way
Sure.
in Prescott. No worries.
We pronounce it Prescott. They pronounce it Prescott.
Fair enough. Um,
So, okay, so I'm gonna press end then. It's nice
okay.
meeting you.
Yeah, thank you. I'll keep you updated on like the documentary and then I'll be able to show you it at the end, hopefully.